No. Hey everybody, this is C. Miller with Sugar Publishing LLC, and we are back with another episode of Indie Author Insights, the platform where authors, publishers, experienced writers share their experiences that they had while they were publishing their books in hopes that some of that knowledge will help young writers and young authors get their books published and navigate the publishing process more effortlessly. So today we have with us Miss Lisa Tomey. How are you doing today, Miss Lisa?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking.
I'm so happy to have you. You said we were gonna have coffee together, so I got my coffee.
That's right. Here's my cup. My cup says "Shut up and write."
That's what we have to do as writers. And
Yes.
Learning a little bit about you, Miss Tomey, you fell in love with poetry as a child, right?
Yes, I did. I started actually, my first exposure to poetry was, believe it or not, Poe.
Okay.
My family had a selective library, very small library of books, and that was one of the books. And so I started reading that when I was in grade school. And probably, I started learning to read, about 6 years old. And so I picked up on that. And then it just went from there to between poetry and writing, fairy tales, Grimm's. I read all of those and acted them out with all of my dolls. And so the real poetry bug hit me hard when I was in sixth grade. We had teachers did team teaching, and one of the teachers, Miss Eshelman, who I'm sure has long gone to heaven and earned her reward, she introduced us to Asian forms of poetry. So we became really proficient with haiku and tanka and sinkane and different forms of Asian poetry. And we wrote an anthology. We participated in an anthology of poetry. So that was my first time to be published, was in sixth grade. And so we did that. And then just after that, poetry has always been my way of working out stuff, expressing my feelings, sorting out problems. It's just always, I write too, but sometimes when I start writing, it ends up being poetry. And sometimes when I start poetry, it ends up being writing. So I go both ways, but poetry is my number one.
That's beautiful. I know exactly what you mean. We went to a writing meetup one time, and they had everybody grouped based on the genre of writing. So you got your sci-fi, your horror, your novels, or what have you. And then they said, "And where are the poets?" And it was on like 3 or 4 of us there, and they said, the people with souls. Like poets put so much, we put so
Amen.
much emotion into
Yes.
our writing, and I don't think I found people more sincere or honest than true poets and what they exercise in their writing.
Mm-hmm.
So your book, you wrote Hearts and Sounds?
Heart Sounds
Heart
was my
Sounds.
very first self-published book for me. I did do some self-publishing for someone else, a ghostwriting book on Alzheimer's, but um, this Heart Sounds was my first. And if you look at it, you can find all my mistakes of starting out. I didn't understand how to format or anything, and so my copy, and I haven't gone in and really reformat it and changed it. It just is as it is, and I learned a lot through that book about what not to do and what to do, and but it was my baby, and so I learned. So it was a chat book, and yeah.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing, Miss Lisa. With my first self-published piece was Phantasmagoria, poetic translations.
Yes,
And
I've
yeah,
been reading on that.
oh, cool, thank you. I did the cover through Kindle Direct. It was horrific. It looked so morbid. And then afterwards, I have some people close to me that they struggle with, they battle lupus every day. And just in honor of them, as a tribute, kind of like a charity or what have you, we redesigned the cover and made it all. It's not all that much better, but it's purple. It's got a purple overcast, and all the proceeds from that go to lupus. But I am
Yes.
with you, and when I look back through it, I was like, man, this is all over the place, you know. But like I was telling somebody a couple of weeks ago, I leave it like that, deliberately.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, it's like a monumental place, and you can look at it and
Yeah.
say, hey, I started right here.
Mhm.
And
Well,
yeah,
that's important. It's like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And don't, when you write a book and you self-publish, you're going to make mistakes, no matter how much of a perfectionist
mhm,
you are going to make mistakes. But the important thing is you learn from those mistakes. So the
that's
next
right.
book you do will be better.
That's
And then
right.
there'll be some people that'll go over your book with a magnifying glass, but those people that are going over your book with a magnifying glass, guess what? They bought your book and they read it
That's right.
and they're
That's right.
talking about it, even if it's a negative thing, they're talking about it. Somebody else is going to hear it and they're like, well, let me check it out just to prove you wrong. And there
Yeah.
you go. There's another
Yeah.
sale. So,
That's a
hey,
good point.
even negative, it's good.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And you went on to write quite a few books after that, right? And published quite a few books. You have a couple of them that you're going to share with us.
Yeah, my most recent is Silver Linings, Reflection of Life and Hope Through Poetry. I
Okay.
actually co-wrote this with LaVan Robinson. LaVan and I've been publishing several of his books. And when I started my press, Prolific Pulse Publishing LLC, he was my first author. And so we have been talking about collaborating and said, I've been wanting to write something about having hope, it's reflections of life and hope through poetry. And because, there are a lot of things in life that, are dumb, they're hard, they're difficult. And we want to write about that and then talk about the hope that you can have as well in life. Because I'm not one of these people who like, oh, you always have to think positive, everything's, hunky dory and, but you do need to look at the silver lining. And I think we do need to look at where the hope is because no matter what challenge you have in life, there's always hope, and so basically don't give up. Don't feel like life is just, one big blank show. Just go ahead and take your chances, take your risks, because there's a silver lining out there. And I have a poem in here. It's called The Spirit of Music Plays On.
Okay. Share. You want to share that with us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As I look at the tan shaded keys of the piano, crackled, dingy, and peeling, melodies are now memories of the time when elegance was about tea and piano time, when we all dressed proper and sang deep from the soul, just as when we faced the hurricanes, we gathered at the farm, secured the property, gathered by the waiting piano until the master touched the keys, and all worries of wind and rain were belted out to calm the storms. And we survived. Our dear piano survived, always leaving us with peace. Each day was another day of hope. Ballads and nursery tunes alike grew the spirit, another moment to survive, another moment to love. And as we faced the pandemic, the old soul piano was still there with us. Some have passed on, but the music remained. It comforted us as we once again gathered and realized that all the riches of the world could not do more than the riches of knowing we had each other. We still had music. We still had soul. Looking at the old piano, abandoned by time and loss, I leave a yellow rose of joy, for time has lent more than anything else, and I am grateful for the song.
Oh, wow, that was beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
love that. You wait, especially, I could really feel them gathered together, waiting for the master to touch the keys.
Mhm.
And I started thinking about all of our lives and the different songs that play, like when you were talking about, life, things are gonna happen. And it's just like it's just another part of the song.
Yeah. Yeah, I was inspired. Saw a photograph of an old piano that was all worn, weather worn. And I thought about that, and I thought about, because I live in North Carolina, hurricanes become a center focus. And having survived hurricanes, having been in house during hurricanes, having lost a home to a hurricane,
Mhm.
I thought about where you went, what you did while that was going on. And of course, the first thing you do is you find safety, and then you pray and you have hope that you're going to get through that. And the other thing you do is you find ways to engage one another so that the hurricanes, they're going to come and they're going to go, but you got to find ways to gather together in some way, whether it be through song or through one of the other traditions in the South is if there's a bad storm coming, you go to bed, take a nap. And so it's, you know, whatever you do to get through the storms of life, but there's always something on the other side.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's encouraging. You just don't know how much I needed to hear that. And I'm sure several of our listeners probably can say that they appreciate that sentiment this morning. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that. And you mentioned that your first book was self-published. When you use the term self-published, could you explain to us self-published versus what?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, self-publishing, is it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to like sit down and put your book together, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but some important things that I learned along the way is you need somebody else's eyes to see your book. You need someone else to read through and make sure you didn't make any mistakes. Because if you're looking at your own stuff, you're going to miss your mistakes. It's just going to happen. But there is a little trick that you could use, and it's free. Is to if you use I use Word program. I'm sure there are other Word programs that do this as well. But use that review your work. It checks to
Mhm.
see if you have commas. Yeah, if you have commas, if you shouldn't have a comma, it tells you. It asks you about words. It'll say, "You sure you want to use this word?" It even points out, if you're being culturally sensitive. So, do you want to use man, woman, or do you want to use something that's non-gender specific? It's really getting down to brass tacks,
Mhm.
so you can make decision. Do you want to use this word because it sounds offensive? It might offend somebody. But and you might still choose to use that word because you want to for your poem or your writing. But use that reviewer. Also, there are other applications you can use out there. There's one that I use, and I use as a paid application because it's well worth my money to pay for it each year. And that's called Pro Writing Aid, but you can get a free version of that.
Okay.
So you get a Pro Writing Aid, and I absolutely love it. Some people use Grammarly and that, and I've tried it, but Pro Writing Aid is the one I love. I'm not getting paid to say this, but they can if they want to, but
I know, right?
I love it. I love Pro Writing Aid, and you have to buy extra for like plagiarism checkers and that. And if you're um, publishing somebody else's work and you want to check for plagiarism, it's good to have something like that. Um, so, you find a good editing tool, if you can't afford or anything else, use your review option in your document. But I would definitely at least test drive some of the others. They all offer free opportunities to check them out. So shop around. There's Grammarly, there's PageRater, which it's free. It's very simple. There is a paid version, but I've never used the paid version. I use that for snippets of like if I'm just checking a little snippet of something, it'll check for plagiarism for me for free.
Mhm.
Um, and then So find your tools, get it edited down really well. When I receive a manuscript, I run that editor to make sure we caught everything on that. It's one of my first things that I do. I'll accept a manuscript that's not perfect, that needs some editing. That's unrealistic to expect a manuscript not to need it. But, you know, on my own stuff, I review everything, go over it, then review it again, run it through Pro Writing Aid and see what it has to tell me. You know, check it, and check it again. And then let somebody else take a look at it.
Mhm.
Get into a poetry critique group. Get feedback from other people. It's invaluable. I belong to a couple of groups, and you know, I just can't say enough about how much that's helped me get my work published, my individual works. And that's another thing for if you're going to self-publish or you're going to professionally publish, submit your stuff to somebody else. One of the biggest reasons that I will not accept a manuscript is because they haven't shopped their poetry out to publishers. And I'm talking about magazines, journals, publications out there that take individual poems like Spillwords, for example, or Yasu, or there's tons of them out there that want to see people have done the work of publishing their work in publication or individual poetry. And I need to follow my own voice. So if I wanted to self-publish, I still want to get that stuff out there because then it gives you credibility. It says, oh, this stuff is good enough to be accepted by Fine Lines Literary Journal, or, you know, heroin, what's that called? Heroin something. There's so many out there. But get to know and go to Submittable, find the places you can submit to, use Duotrope, whatever you want to use, and then track your stuff. You know, keep a tracker going. And Submittable has a tracker. Duotrope has a tracker. They're the ones I use. So you know where your stuff went. Otherwise, you're gonna have big mess on your hands. And then get it out there. Do the legwork. And then for self-publishing, there are different apps you can use. Some people use Amazon. I've used Amazon. I'm getting ready to go to Lulu. Use them. And just follow their directions. And it's pretty clear. And you've got to keep Google right at your right hand. Google everything. I go to YouTube, use videos. I still use the same video to learn how to number pages because that was the one thing that always trips me up.
Yeah, it will.
Page numbering. And I use the same old video and go to it and figure out how to number pages. But I use those tools out there. They're there. And ask other people. Get involved with other writers. Go to different groups. There's tons of them on Facebook and that. Connect with other people and compare and talk and critique each other's work. The other thing with self-publishing is make your plan to market your book early in the game. Start talking about it before you even get it done. Get out there on social media. Get on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Say, I have a book coming out. Here's a poem I'm going to be sharing from a book. Don't put all your book poetry out there. Why would anybody want to buy your book?
Right.
But but get the word out. I've got a book coming. People, you might think they get tired of it. Just kind of plan it out a little bit. Don't hit them every day with it because you'll probably people might start unfollowing you. But get it out there, periodically.
Yeah.
But start tooting your own horn and get some other people to help you out too, and encourage them, tag them in your post to share your work. And before you know it, you have all this enthusiasm. So by the time your book comes out, you're like, hey, I can't wait to get hold of your book. And, but there are, people that you can enlist that would be glad to help you do that. It's free to share good news.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good.
And then keep writing, because if you put the word out, and that pushes you to get your book done. Like, and
Right.
I've got dates set out there. My book that I'm putting out is coming out August 7th, 2022, because that's my birthday.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yay, my book is coming out. called Caring for Souls. And I just started a contest for people to submit poetry and essays, and the winners are going to go in my book. So it's all about caregiving. So I'm really excited about that. So see, I just tooted my own horn.
I love it. I was going to ask you about that because I know I think I just saw something about the submission, because it doesn't just have to be the caregivers. It could be somebody that's has a medical condition that's requiring that they be cared for too, right?
Absolutely. It's the givers and the receivers, and often in life we become both.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
received, when I need surgery, my daughter waited on me hand and foot, so I received care, and I've given care to several. I've helped some people cross over to the other side, and I've written poetry about that. So, um, yeah, I'm real excited about this book. I've
yeah.
had a lot of people saying, when are you going to get it done? Because I've been so busy trying to work on other people's books. That's like, yay, August is coming next
Yeah.
year. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I cleared some time off my calendar to finish my book. So, yeah.
And they have until March to
So
get the
March, the end of
submissions
March
in,
to
right?
get the submissions in.
And it's got to be 3 poems and 3 essays, right?
Well, yeah, you don't have to send that. You can send one poem, one essay.
Oh,
To be
okay, okay.
considered. Each one individually is going to be looked at, and yeah, I'm only going to, like say if you send in 3 poems, only one of those poems has to win.
Okay, okay.
Just win. So, and I'm not going to give the same person both a poem and an essay as a winner. So I got to be fair. There are going to be 12 different people who win this.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll each get $20,
Yeah.
It may not be much, but it's something, right?
Yeah, it's a lot right now. It's a lot to me.
Well, people get paid for what they do. And so I decided
Yeah.
to put my money, toward our people out there. So
Yeah.
yep, pretty excited about it. I'm starting to get submissions already. So
Good. I hope you get a lot of them, get a whole lot of them.
yeah, because then I can read the whole month of April, which is National Poetry Month.
Yeah, we do. I think forgot what, I think it's the 30-30 poetry, something like that.
Yeah, 30-30.
Yeah, you offer
poem a day in April.
poem
I've been
a
doing
day,
that.
right? And they've been you've had authors go on and self-publish books with their 30-30s.
30-30.
I
Yeah.
thought that was so cool because
There you go. You got a chapbook by the time month's over.
Yeah, absolutely. What could authors expect as far as royalties? What kind of numbers do they need to keep in mind, percentages?
Well, for people that self-publish, depends on what company they use and how much they get back from that company. Now, when you self-publish, the reality is too, you're going to pay people to do your cover, unless you are real talented, you do your cover yourself. Then you might go to Fiverr, you might have a friend. My covers are done by my niece. She's an artist and she does my covers. I'll show you. So proud of her. I can tell her what I want and she'll do it for me. She did Heartbeats cover. That's my anthology. And I just gave her an idea and I told her the colors.
Yeah.
She went with it.
That's nice.
She is so good. Kay Doran is her name. And she just designed a cover for the next anthology I've got coming out, which is, the Social Justice Inks. And people are going to be so surprised at this cover.
Is that right?
It is going, it's coming in the mail. I can't wait to get it in my hands, but it is not what anybody think it was going to be. Social justice, but yet it's so deep and so much what I wanted. I just can't wait.
I can't wait either. When is that one set to come out?
That is set to come out next year, and I have not set a date yet. It'd be April, May, somewhere in there. Depends on how many things I've got to read before then, but probably May. Yes, Heartbeats came out in May, and I may just keep that consistent. I need more submissions for that. I am not getting enough, so please get the word out. We need submissions for Social Justice Inks, and December 31st is the deadline. So, yeah, I'm not getting very many. Maybe it's because I'm asking people to not have published this anywhere else. This is going to be a first run for their poem. So, so maybe that's why.
Okay.
But, so yeah, it's all going to be original works.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ms. Lisa, even in sharing that, why don't you tell them how they could get in touch with you? All your social media stuff and the information.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna write it down and I'll have it in the description of this video. But ladies and gentlemen, submissions for Social Justice Inc.'s submission for the caregiver book. We're gonna leave it in the description, but Ms. Lisa's gonna share with us right now how you can get
Absolutely. Just send an email to prolificpulse@gmail.com. My website is prolificpulse.com. So on my website, you'll also see information, graphic on there talking about Social Justice Inc. I haven't put anything up yet about the caregiver, but it's coming soon. But if just email, that's the best way. Just email, put caregiver in the subject line, so I know that's what you're writing about. Put Social Justice Inc. in the subject line, and I'll send out a PDF with all the details. Do not send me anything until you read the guidelines.
Absolutely.
Makes more work for both of us. So.
And one last thing, what's the deadline on the Social Justice Inc.? How soon do you need those? How soon do you want those? I need those
by December 31st this year.
So whoever is going to submit anything for Social Justice Inc., they better get on top of it.
They better get on top of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any encouraging words that you want to leave with the writers?
Write when you don't feel like writing. If you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you get an idea, get up and write it. It could be a calling for you to put your words down. I have had entire poems hit me. That sound like if I were to record them, and you could record them, which sound like slam poetry. I mean, just boom, 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 boom. Get it down, write it out. Even if you just keep a notepad on the nightstand, write it down, go back to sleep if you want to, or get up and work. But some of my best ideas come 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes I just get up and go to work. I figure I'll catch a nap later. But, you got to go with it. When it comes to you, if there's a meaning behind that, that's your soul calling and saying, "Okay, warm me up with some words." So, yeah.
Warm me up with some words.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Ms. Lisa, we love you so much, and thank you for sharing your insights with us today. Well,
thank you for the opportunity. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Likewise. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for tuning in. This has been another episode of Indie Author Insights. This is Ms. Lisa Tomey. We appreciate you, and we'll see you all next time.